to be alive in this land of ours. Good to drive in this land of ours.
Hello, Canada hockey fans in the United States.
The Hockey Time Machine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hockey Time Machine. I'm Glenn Dreyfus. Today, we're talking to a VHC VIP. The VHC stands for Vintage Hobby Curator, and we can add to that Hobby Historian, and is the author of the Vintage Hockey Collector Price Guide. His name is Bobby Burrell. Bobby, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Glenn. Good to be here.
Here's another one of your books. How many books are there in total?
Well, there's actually three. The first one I did was in 2003. Yeah. It's because I was collecting unopened packs, wrappers, and boxes. I made a book that somewhat rudimentary, but it just went through each year. What was the cards, the box, the wrapper, and I went through that from 1933 till 1990. And that was the first one in 2003. And I actually expanded a little bit from there. And I went into my second book where I got it more into the food issue type of thing. So within this book, you'll see there's large pictures. It's affectionately called the Playboy because there's a little bit of writing and a lot of large pictures. So we have this that goes through every card, every box, every food issue that was issued, stuff that was under jars of peanut butter and what have you. So it's all in here. And that's a very big book.
Where's the centerfold?
The centerfold would be my brother is right there in 1970. It's my book. I can put my family in there. Grandfather's in the front as an intro and stuff like that.
It's like Tom Dundon putting all his relatives on the Stanley Cup.
There you go. Oh, God. I don't know about that, but we'll take it. And then the last one, obviously, 2015. So there's a lot of time in between. Now, this book, although not so picturesque, it has the pictures, but it's mostly the checklists that were not done or accomplished over the years through. Well, Beckett was always there. That was the major pricing magazine. Canadian Sports Collector was the Canadian one. I didn't really get into that until later because it took a lot more to document. And there's a lot of areas that needed correcting. So that's why I morphed into that book. So, and that was the last one, 2015. That's like 11 years ago now. Wow.
Yes, time marches on, doesn't it?
Yes.
Bobby, you were not only a card collector as a kid. I understand you were pretty speedy on hockey skates. Would you describe yourself more as a Rocket Richard Burrell or a Jean Beliveau Burrell?
Who is that? I forget that fast skater well, there's a lot of fast skaters out there. So I was sort of the kid when I started hockey. I started a little bit later than most, at about 10 years old. I think it was 8 years old. And I was the kid that if the goalie got a penalty, I would be put in penalty box because the goalie couldn't get a penalty. So I played at actually Ted Reeves Arena. There's a premium we'll get into in a second. I played there, and they had an outdoor rink, and every day after school I would keep going around the rink and practice. And a couple years later, I'm the fastest skater in the league. I was a very fast runner, and I just had to get used to the skates. And so I was basically the fastest in the league. And then I made the all-star team and played the rest of my house league career. I never went on further than that. It was a lot of my grades weren't the greatest at that time, and it was a lot on your parents to drive you around, 2 or 3 times a week at that time. So,
as a historian and curator, you've collected and studied everything from bobbleheads to glitter pennants, and we're going to discuss and show examples in a minute.
Sure.
But first, let's discuss the hobby itself. You think it's in a better place now than it was maybe 10 or 20 years ago. Why is that?
The hobby card market, yes, definitely is. For memorabilia, it's there as well. It's maintaining itself. There was explosions at different times, so some things go crazy, like the bobblehead craze era, where everybody got into bobbleheads. They're still popular, and they always were. But there was a time, and when information seems to come out, such as my second book, that information stimulated a lot of people because of the information became visible at that point, and a lot of people went, "Oh, I didn't know that was issued by Kraft. Wow, I'm going to collect that." As long as they have some reason to collect it behind it, rather than just seeing it as a kid or using the product as a kid and having that reward of whatever was inside the cereal box or what have you, this took it to the next level. So they got exposure to the collectibles through the book itself.
How did your childhood hobby morph into your life's work?
Well, I think it's sort of osmosis. I started opening packs, and my first pack I really remember opening is 1970-71. And everyone goes, "Oh, Sittler's Rookie." But remember, at that time period, you open up, Sittler's just the new guy. You didn't really care about Sittler's until a couple years later when he started to really get, a little bit more fame to him. So that's really where it started. I got into comic books. I was born a collector. I got into toy games, but hockey was always, the cards were always the mainstay throughout. There's times where you drift off and, get married, you buy a house, or, you move on with your life, but cards are still there, but not as predominant as it turned out. About 90, I guess around 95, I started to get back in, and I was sitting there going, I've done all the card stuff over the year. What am I going to do? And as you've probably seen in one of my videos, I stated that I saw a box at the Hockey Hall of Fame of 54, the first year for Topps, a full box. And I saw that, and it was just like, that's it. You just know it when it's in front of you.
Well, in fact, you said, I'm more into boxes and wrappers than the sports cards themselves. How come?
Well, it tells more of a story for me. I love to see the artwork, the original artwork, the thought of the artist at that time period drawing the hockey. I don't like real pictures on boxes, real photographs. I actually like artwork. I find it very stimulating. Same thing with the wrapper. What was thinking? And there we go. We have a bunch of boxes right there from one of my videos. So the artwork is a really key point for me. But that's where the picks. I've always liked the point of sale. That's what it is. I love the point of sale items, be it boxes, be it for any product. I always like the posters that hung up in the store at that time, and their survival rate is a lot less at this point. Going forward, how many cards survived? Millions and millions. How many boxes? A few. Some even none. We haven't found them all. So it's stimulating.
We're going to bring in Todd Sawatsky. In addition to being a friend of the show, he is a property appraiser in Niagara Falls, Ontario, specializing in sports memorabilia and pop culture. Hi, Todd.
Hello. It is technically personal property appraiser, but yes. But yeah, absolutely. I've been appraising now for about 6.5 years, and I'm actually even listed as one of the Hockey Hall of Fame's official appraisers. So if you were to potentially donate some of your collection, I may be one of those individuals to assess it for you.
All right. Well, you pop in and discuss with Bobby any of the topics we raise or any of the ones you want to raise, and I'll sit back and listen. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely love the fact that you're really interested in the boxes and the packs, because they are quite fascinating, and I will agree the artwork really does say something. But also from a point of sale things, have you ever got into more of the display stands and things that might happen for whether they are pocket schedule stands or skates, advertisement of that sort.
The old CCM, yes, of course. Just to tell you the history, I've been documenting everything from 1910 to 1990, all cards, food issue, merchandise. So there's nothing really that I haven't seen before. And I do especially love the in-store displays. The CCM did those back in the 30s and 40s, and I've documented them and I put them in price guides. Actually, I don't have a price guide now. Obviously, 10 years old. I have an app and a website. So,
Okay.
So my biggest book had 2,800 pictures. My app has 36,000.
That's a big difference for sure.
Yeah.
Bobby and Todd, you both are regulars at sports card and memorabilia shows. I'll ask this of Bobby first, and then Todd, you weigh in.
Mhm.
I imagine that you see a lot of collectors, a lot of what we call amateurs at it, and that there's a gap between how many of them do participate in the hobby versus what you might think would be a better or more satisfying or more profitable way to pursue their hobby. Do you ever have the urge, Bobby, to want to go grab some of the folks who go past the displays and go, "What are you doing?"
Well, you know, there is the difference between like the kids nowadays, rather than cut grass or shovel snow, they buy some cards and they hedge their way up, trading, you know, selling, doing a lot of different things. It's another different motivation for a lot of kids going now. There is the odd one who will jump back to the vintage era, but they're quite expensive, and that kind of is a little bit of a deterrent. But as they grow up and through, you know, I'm always reinforcing, you know, collecting cards. You know, getting them graded is your choice, you know, but I think if you just involve yourself in the hobby and you're good with the kids and explaining things to them the proper way, they should have a very happy and healthy, you know, collecting is a very healthy part of your lifestyle. People don't realize how much it is. Very little things give you so much solace in life. So,
Todd, what advice do you give to the newbie?
Well, actually, to completely, bounce off of what Bobby was saying, I call it a passion. You don't collect without being passionate about what you're collecting. So, from my standpoint, it really comes down to the dollars and cents first. What can you afford? Can you afford that $5 card today, which can potentially lead to that $50, $500, $5,000 card later, and then just build from there. Because as passionate as we are and as fanatic as we can get, it often really does come down to the relationships that you build and the trading and learning on the fly. Sometimes it can be a deterrent, but there are way more positives than the negatives in that side of things.
Bobby, I want to share a photo that must be one of your treasured collectibles. This is you meeting Mr. Hockey Gordie Howe at the Toronto Sports Expo in 2002.
yes.
I bet your inner child was jumping for joy.
It really was. Meeting your childhood, well, there was a lot of superstars that I really enjoyed, but Gordie Howe is one of the top tier. And I finally got to meet him. The funny part is I wasn't allowed, the guy wouldn't let me go behind to get a picture with Gordie. And I really want that part of it. You know, actually just shaking his hand. I don't even need the autograph. It's just meeting him personally, which is, you know, the best part for me. The guy wouldn't let me go, but then Gordie goes, "Hey, let him, come on around, get your picture with me." He's such a nice guy. And then he's making jokes and he's amazing. Yeah, there he is. He was, it was a wonderful time for me. And I did meet him another couple times after that too, which was great. So,
well, they say don't meet your heroes, but I guess it worked out with Gordie.
It sure did. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Todd, what about you? Any brushes with hockey greatness as far as collectibles go?
Well, I mean, speaking of Gordy, I had the pleasure of meeting him at one of his last public signings he did in the Toronto area before his passing. I believe that was at Frozen Pond when he was there with Mark and Marty.
Yeah.
But for myself, there's been a couple of run-ins. I've always absolutely loved Jaromir Jagr, which kind of sounds crazy considering he still played last year and age that he's in. But when I first moved to Ontario, he ended up doing a public signing, and it was within a few weeks of me moving to Ontario, and I got to meet him then, which was pretty huge. He was a New York Ranger at the time. And the other one was Wayne Gretzky. Ended up going to one of his golf tournaments in the Blue Mountain area, and sure enough, there he was with a big fat stogie, having a great time, and his signature for those that were there when which is certainly not a paid signing or the stuff that you see in Upper Deck. It's a pretty ugly signature, but you know what? He signed my stuff for me, so I was pretty excited to meet him. It's kind of one of those. Not sure if you're going to go blind. Usually there's a little bit to that statement ahead of time, but
True.
Yeah. So those were my big two that I was really excited about for sure.
Bobby, vintage is an important word in how you describe your business. It's the first word. And I thought this was kind of profound. You said the vintage side is never dependent on novelty, only on what endures. Is that why the newer stuff doesn't grab you in the same way?
Oh, definitely that reason. There's a lot of other reasons too. It is very complicated. I don't enjoy collecting anything past a person's playing time. So anybody who's played and then they keep making cards for the next 40, 50, 60 years, where does it stop and how much money do you have to allocate to that? So, I would make that cutoff there for if I was a collector, like Tony Esposito, and then he retired, that's it. And anything that was in between there is fine. Beyond that, it would be never ending because you have so many stars. Where do you stop? And then some of them are exclusive. All these new cards are exclusive, a patch, auto, and all this, now it's Tiger Claw, greenback, whatever, it's gone to this point of no return for me. I will never go there, but let those indulge.
Well, like you said, I guess everyone hobbies in their own way, right?
Yeah, we have to separate the card industry from the hobby, and there is a distinct difference between the two. Which
I completely agree. I have found even for myself, I know how I have evolved as a collector personally. Starting from cards, getting into autographs, game use equipment, stuff like that. But it, there's certain pieces that. For myself, the sentimental attachment to it is, it's like, what, I got that when I was here. So to me, it's priceless. It doesn't matter what kind of price you put on it in terms of the retail value. But when I'm working as an appraiser and I'm working with individuals and looking at their collectibles and their collections, you find out really quickly no two individuals collect the same way. So, it could be very card focused. It could be more of the memorabilia focus. I've seen thousands of bobbleheads and action figures and stuff, sports stuff in that regard. And everyone has their own unique way of collecting. So that's almost more fascinating, no matter what the dollars and cents is worth. It's, oh, you collect this? That's cool. And oh, so this is why. That makes sense. And it really doesn't matter how you collect. It's just about the love and the passion for doing so. And especially with vintage stuff, I'm a huge fan of the vintage stuff myself. So my oldest hockey card dates back to 1937. My oldest card dates back to 1909. And then I also have some programs and pennants and stuff that actually are of some of that vintage. I even had some newspaper articles that I donated to the Hall of Fame that were from the 1920s when the Blackhawks joined the league. So, different things, spark the passion and gets the love of collecting into you for sure.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned pennants, Todd, because Bobby has a YouTube channel, Bobby Burrell VHC. And
Okay.
oh my God, what a rabbit hole this is. If you need to be productive in a day, don't go there, because the stories and the stuff he shows, before you know it, it's 8 hours later. Out of the fascinating collection of those stories, I've pulled out a few hockey gems, and I'm going to show them. Bobby, you comment on them, and Todd, you chip in as much as you like. And we're going to start at the time of the 1967 expansion. Apparently, you could find inside Maple Leaf Gardens glitter pennants and pennants of those 67 original expansion teams. Tell me about that, Bobby.
Well, one thing about the glitter pennants that I will explain is that even as detailed collectors, 90% of the people don't know about glitter pennants, and they actually the most expensive. Yeah, they have this somewhat glitter on the words and the logos. Very few people know about them because they're very rare. They weren't around long. They were just a very short promotion. But yes, these were also available around whoever actually ordered them. I think it came in a catalog and you could order glitter, and only certain arenas did. I'm sure they sent out samples because we found an example of every one, but some only have 2 or 3. California Seals, they have a lot, whereas Pittsburgh, a couple have been found. But they're still being collections, but that have come to market that we have seen. And I get shown a lot of stuff through a lot of different collectors. So, but these ones are really great, and right at that expansion time period. As your picture had 75% off, I actually, is from the video, I'm saying that a lot of them didn't sell because they just came in. You're at Maple Leaf Gardens and you're going, who's this St. Louis Blues? Like, I never seen them play. Why am I going to buy a pennant? Why am I going to pay that? Like, really? So that's why a lot of things fell into that zone of no.
And the Seals actually had 2, right? Because they changed names.
Well, actually, most people don't know that they were the California Seals when they came in the league, and then 4 months into the league, they moved to the Bay Area, and they're the Oakland Seals. That's halfway through the year. There you go. So yeah, but they still kept, see the C around the seal. Yeah, that means California. When it goes full circle, it says Oakland. Then it's Oakland at that point. So you can discern which they did a year after, basically in 68, 69. That's when they would have put the circle around it, and that's how you differentiate and how you can document things. Sort of like a lot of people say with the Pittsburgh Penguins, when the Penguin had the scarf and when it didn't. But we see that it kind of moves a little bit, and it's not actual and factual as. It's just random stuff. It's sort of like hockey cards. They're just a bubblegum company. That's all they were. They weren't Google. They weren't this high, big company. It was just simple stuff back in those times. Today, it's a little different story. You talk about fanatics and what have you, but yes.
Staying with pennants. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Todd.
Oh, yeah. No, actually, I find that fascinating. I don't think I've actually personally seen any of the glitter pennants myself. But
I can't tell you the money that's involved. The difference is
I get the impression. That it's
so, and people don't realize what they have, and it's good as there's the Toronto Maple Leaf. It's actually as much as I love the Leafs, it's the least interesting looking one. It doesn't give that glitter as other ones do, but you can't have everything.
Here's what the Leafs did have, and a mystery you uncovered, Bobby, around that same time. The Leafs won the Stanley Cup in 1967, and there's an unusual pennant story that came out of that championship.
Yes. Well, the pennants were issued. Are you going back to my video about all the pennants and the whole series that I ran through the Toronto Maple Leafs? Yes. So Maple Leaf Gardens, I think, Ballard's involved, obviously. They issued their own pennants. There was a league pennants that you could purchase. The licensing wasn't fully in swing. So they would issue their own. They had their own pennant company. These are the only ones that are very exclusive because they have this faux stitching screen at the end. So they have all these different pennants, and they were exclusive to Maple Leaf Gardens. It makes them very difficult to find. And I've determined the years through our series opposed to years, just as the style changed. And nobody's ever documented these ever before. They're out there, but they don't know exactly where they came from, who they were from, what manufacturer made them. So 67 was a great year. That was the last year for the Stanley Cup, but they didn't sell a lot of them. But we realized that a lot of those staples that went into holding the photo on the pennants had fallen off. Well, what they did is they made brass pennants for that year to make it fancy, but brass bends so easily, and most of them are found without that logo, and it has just that leaf, which is really kind of interesting.
Well, there's a reason you also made sure to show the back of the pennants, because that 67 championship photo actually was removable, and that's part of the story of the staples.
Yeah, it was removable, but why would you remove it? But it would fall off. And
yeah,
they had both of these 67 pennants had that regular maple leaf, which was sort of a background of a lot of different other pennants. And then when they went to the Stanley Cup, they had that new leaf logo, which changed right at that time period. So you find them with, because you can see through the back, it's very thin pennant felt material. So it had some with that and some without. So obviously as soon as they won the Stanley Cup, they put them out there, and they didn't wait till the next season, which traditionally they would, to sell that next year. So we can see that transition, and helps with dating, and all these little finite, minute details are really fun.
Collectibles can be found in some of the most unusual places, like the card on the back of this 1969 box of Junior Mints candy.
Yeah.
One of the sports heroes was Bobby Hull, and I'm going to read some of the fine print. His sprint skating has been clocked at 28.3 miles per hour. Hull is also said to be able to shoot the puck at 118 miles per hour. Bobby, Junior Mints, that is one refreshing collectible.
It is. Unfortunately, this was an American-only product. It didn't come into Canada. And we see a lot of that with larger companies like Junior Mints and what have you. A lot of those bigger items stayed within the United States, and they were generally part of a multi-sport. So out of the 30 different, there's only one hockey. So anytime there is only one of something, and it's hockey in a multi-sport set, I will document the whole set. I'll look into every part of it just to make sure I cover the bases. So I don't just know the hockey, I'm very wide on everything. It's sort of like O-Pee-Chee. I know about Topps history, I know about Bowman history, I did the Parker's history video about what happened with all the cards and their whole history of the company. So, and that's where I differentiate from being a collector to a historian, is I've looked at the backstory. I don't really look at here's the cards. I don't even care about the cards at that time. I want to know all the different things that went on. And that's the main thing for me.
Todd, is that a part of your particular interest, or are you about the front of the cards?
Well, actually, both factors definitely play a factor for myself. I have found myself as a collector, from the collector side of things, learning about different players, and especially just trying to find autographs or trying to get autographs of different individuals. That's where the rabbit hole happens. You can have a guy that played one game in the NHL, but then you learn about their history and finding out where they played, where they ended up residing. And I find that portion incredibly fascinating. And the same thing comes down to, the Junior Mints, I think, is a beautiful example of where it's a multi sport set, so to speak. And Okay, yes, it's great that there's hockey involved, but there's so much more to it. One thing that came into my possession earlier this year was a random Quaker Oats trivia card, but it's a baseball trivia card. I think it's called Ask Me About Baseball. And the question is related to Babe Ruth. And because Babe Ruth is associated with it, even though its picture is not on there, that item has had a significantly more value than I originally anticipated when I saw that trivia card. So it really does come down to the player specific items. Like people call them the GOATs today, the greatest of all time, and it doesn't matter what the era is. The greats of that era, things associated with them, really do tend to bring value up. But it's also fascinating to find out how those items came to be to begin with. So I'm so glad that Bobby has been taking the time to feature these stories and showcasing it in his books and his videos. So that's wonderful. Absolutely fantastic.
Thanks, Todd. Yeah, the backstories are really the important part. Like I said, we all know about the cards, but something like that. If it's Canadian, I'll document it. If it's American, I'll leave it alone because they have years to catch up to what we have in hockey covered just by what I've done, let alone everybody else in Beckett, what have you, or Canadian Sports Magazine. And that information is so key to helping people with their values. I know you were mentioning some guy said, "Oh, what is this thing?" And it's something personal to him, and he thinks the value is way over the moon. And you just go, "Well, unfortunately, it's only worth $50, $100." And they go, "Oh, really?" Because I have an unopened box of candy from 1979, Peter Puck, and then it would give instructions on the backs, so it would give tips to the kids.
Yeah.
So it was a double collectible. You got to eat the candy, you collect the tips, and collect the boxes because they were a numbered set. There you go. Something.
Since you mentioned Peter Puck, created by our buddy Brian McFarlane, I'll jump ahead to that. Indeed, there was Peter Puck hockey candy. I mean, we all know about Peter Puck, but I had no idea, Bobby, that that this little piece of vulcanized rubber spawned so much merch. And I would have figured inside Peter Puck candy would have been chiclets. That's what would have made sense to me. But no, instead, inside Peter Puck candy, there were hockey pants, breezers, helmets, gloves, skates. And I don't know what that is down at the lower left. I hope those aren't cups.
No, there's no cups in there. I think that's pretty much you covered it. There's helmets, pants, gloves, and skates.
Okay. But that's just the start of Peter Puck merchandise. I mean, there were whole catalogs.
Yeah, for somebody who only had 9 episodes, it's quite amazing.
I know most people think there's 100 or 500.
I always thought there was a lot more than 9. But it was so popular at the time, and the United States had the NBC, and then we have it United States and Canada both, which is great. A lot of things are centralized to Canada. They become less collectible because the market is 10% of that, and that's where we end up at a difference in values sometimes. Like the baseball market is crazy, but the hockey cards will never get that crazy. Like a Mickey Mantle is like, how do you touch a $10 million card? In hockey, you get up to $1 million. On the biggest one, I'm saying. So it's a different marketplace for sure.
I want to show you my very favorite piece of Peter Puck merchandise. That's the Peter Puck Halloween costume.
Yes, that is.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it came with an outfit that had a goalie kind of stuff, but that plastic mask and the embossed or the design of him into the top of it, it's 3-dimensional totally, and you can wear it. It's really kind of cool. I have one of those. So.
You just aren't going to scare anybody with a Peter Puck costume.
It wasn't about really scaring people, I think, at that time. It's more, Halloween was just a fun time to dress up. And I went as a Kellogg's cornflake box one time. And I realized that the box, you can't bend your arms. So anyways, the things we did.
With Bobby Burrell as the special prize inside.
Maybe that was it. Yes.
Okay. I guess they weren't thought of that way at the time, but once upon a time, you could get your collectibles out of a vending machine.
Yes.
Bobby, did you own this one, and what's the story?
Yes, I did own this one. This is from the 1970s. For 25 cents in the vending machine, you'd turn it. I don't know if you've ever got your arm stuck up being a kid trying to put it up to try to. Someone's laughing out there, so I know it's trying to get the prize. And unfortunately, you couldn't get it up the way they had designed it. But yeah, you get little mini skates, rings, you name it, any little trinket was in there. The funny part is most of those, I always remember putting my quarter in, and you'd always get the plastic hamburger or something. And I wanted the watch. Like, where's the watch? I never get the watch. So
I do remember the vending machines. I don't remember that vending machine. So
that's a very rare one. Yeah, it was actually Foltz was the American company, but in Nova Scotia, they had a Canadian branch. And there's two different displays, but they carry somewhat similar items. So that's about 1970, 74, 75, 6, somewhere around there. It's hard to date exactly, but there was a lot of great vending machine prizes that are out there. But finding the display cards is the really difficult part. You'll find the item, but you won't find that vending card. If you find one of those, grab it.
And sometimes even the advertising on the sides, especially if they were stuck on or whatever, the amount of damage that those received was quite common too.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah.
Well, damage is everything is survival rate.
Well, true.
But sometimes they're worth saving, even if they're beat up. It doesn't matter. At least you have one.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's
I love the historical side of things for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm damaged, but I'm still worth something.
Yes, quite a bit actually, Glenn.
Yeah, I am definitely not in mint condition. I will admit to that.
I now mention one thing. I said I would come back to it. Is that here you have? This is from Cities Gas. So if you got some gas, you would get this book, which was forwarded by Ted Reeves. And that's where I played hockey. And within the guide, they would have, lots of pictures. They even had Ted Reeves himself. And this would be great for kids because they would have schedules of the league. And then they would explain a little bit about each team. And they would go through tips and all these different other things. So these are very difficult to find. They did 2 years in a row, 36, 37, 35, 36. So these are very difficult to find. And they're very a neat kind of collectible. But that just tells you what was out there. A lot of people remember the items that they collected as a kid, but maybe they never got to go to a game. So the closest way they could get to their stars was through collectibles, through cards under the lids of jars of York peanut butter. There's you can keep going. It just never stops. And there's so much out there that people don't realize what is really out there. I have terabyte of information that I've documented just for hockey.
That's incredible.
Since you mentioned peanut butter.
Yes.
On the shelf at one time at your local grocery, you could get Bobby Clark peanut butter, Dino Ciccarelli peanut butter, Brian Trottier peanut butter for the low price of $1.49 a jar. Now, Bobby, my question is, those are not Bobby Clark's actual teeth. He didn't have a lot of front teeth. I would have figured he would have been more into selling the smooth peanut butter, not the crunchy peanut butter you had to chew. What is going on here?
That's a good question. I know he had a partial implant where he could put it in his two front teeth, but it's amazing what the players. This is actually one of the earlier times we had player endorsed items. It wasn't a special peanut butter company that they made or anything. It was just a promotional item through a company that would do those type of things. So it was generic peanut butter, but it's Bobby Clark and Trottier and all these other different stars. There wasn't too many. There was Dino Ciccarelli and your favorite Yager's peanut butter.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Oh,
I do remember.
and in one
I
of your
remember the Yager.
videos,
Yep.
I have
Todd,
it somewhere here.
Todd, this is belly laugh funny. Somebody in Pittsburgh and this is from one of Bobby's videos, said Yager's peanut butter was far superior to Terry Bradshaw peanut butter, the Steelers quarterback.
And I showed a picture of the Bradshaw peanut butter as well, because I have such an archive of pictures, and I think that really helps us. And I haven't shared them. I've only shared them if it's an article or in my book or what have you. But you never see a nice, good picture, and I've secured a lot of those going forward because everything gets put out in the internet. It's just, oh yeah, I've seen that. Actually, I shared one. I said, don't share this with anybody, and it comes around from 4 friends and go, Bobby, don't share this. But look, I went, yeah, guess it came around. So I protected a lot of pictures. And it makes the videos exciting even for the season collector, because even they haven't seen the archive that I have, but they've seen a lot. But I mean, I have a lot more pictures than most people know. So it works good for the videos. And I try to change the pictures a lot through the videos. That's what really helps a lot of people is, you know, a lot of people talk about, they don't want to hear, they want to see through talking. So that's where the videos have come in so much better than the books or the, you know, the 150 articles I've written. You know, people don't have the time to really, and then you try to put your mind's eye to, oh, that's the picture. And then you read the paragraph and you're trying to, in the video, it just comes to you. And I think it's so much better going forward. It takes a long time. It takes about 30 hours, 40 hours to do a video. 1 hour. Like, I mean, not a 1 hour, a 10-minute, 15-minute.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
All right. Well, Bobby,
Well, you have to do the write-up.
Here's the pro tip.
Yes.
No, I got a pro tip for you.
Okay.
Those videos, putting them together will go a lot quicker if you don't sweat the quality.
Yes.
Oh, so that's how my videos work, is what you're saying.
We made no mention, but it is true. And I want the quality to be there.
Yeah.
It's like my books, the top quality, the best resolution pictures. You know, like this book cost me out of my pocket like $32,000. My wife said to me, "Are you sure this is going to sell?" And I went, yeah. You know, my voice went a little high. It's like, it was a lot of money, and I didn't get that much advertising because I was this Bobby Burrell at that time, and then I came in full force. And this is still historically the best book that everybody likes because of the pictures, the Playboy edition, so to speak. So,
well, as you have demonstrated amply, collectibles can take many forms, even reel-to-reel tape. Again, from Bobby's YouTube channel, here's a short audio clip from a Sports Illustrated interview from John Beliveau not long after the retirement of the Canadian great.
And as we're talking now, Jean, you're a vice president for the organization, and what are your duties now?
Well, after I decided to retire last June, the management and owner of the Montreal Canadiens asked me to stay as the capacity as vice president and in charge of the corporate relations.
Bobby, is that something you come into from time to time as audio video stuff?
Yes. And I try to help Paul out. If I have a video, here's a video. I do have a bunch of commercials that are. I have a Bobby Hall Old Cabin, and there's a Brett Hall in it too of Old Cabin. What's the syrup? So I have that 30-second commercial. I have a lot of different other little small commercials. So I try to get them converted, and then I can use them in videos and what have you, which is the fun part, because nobody really sees those. Like, there's stuff on the internet. I know there's a lot of videos that you can go back and scroll through, but these are kind of unique and that I have not seen. So,
Todd, do you run into that?
Probably more so from the Hall of Fame side of things. I do sometimes work on original videos and tapes and media from that side of things. I also do have having a Winnipeg background and a Manitoba background. I had a friend of mine last year. He came into possession of a reel-to-reel of the final WHA game of the Winnipeg Jets, which was recorded by whatever the radio station was, probably CJOB or something like that. And it was literally plaque mounted on it, and he took it to somebody he knew that worked in audio and said, "Hey, I don't know if this thing still works, but can you get a recording out of it?" So he was able to actually get the recording of it, put it onto file, and keep the piece intact, which was pretty remarkable, a pretty special piece.
I would say, Todd, because WHA didn't film the games. There's very little footage of the games at all. So the WHA is sort of lost, but it's more regional, and people who grew up there will remember it more than the whole. Well, we did have the cards for a few years and a few collectibles here and there, but it doesn't have that stronghold that the NHL and other.
Absolutely. The stuff that I see most from the WHA side of things, cards aside, and there are a lot of team issue sets that came out of the WHA. Sure. But you see a lot of buttons and pins and stuff like that is probably some of the biggest stuff. And every now and then you see some advertising, promotional items. I actually personally own a pocket schedule or pocket schedule display for the 74 Summit Series, which was all WHA.
Oh, I know that one. Yeah. That's a big one. Yes.
Yeah, it's probably about 18 inches tall.
Yeah, I've had a couple over the years. Yeah, but it's always missing the box that held the.
I got the.
You got the little pocket.
I got the box. I don't have the pocket schedules.
Oh, that's okay. The schedules aren't as hard to find, but I mean that little, because it's an insert piece. So when they would deliver it flat to the company, then they would just assemble it, and then you put the pocket schedules that came with it. That's always gone. Every time I find one, it's
well, it's about 10 feet from me. I can always just show it to you if you need it.
Yeah, I like stuff like that.
Okay, let's talk about Todd while he's not around.
Sure.
Here we go.
There it is.
Here we go.
It has the easel on the back, which is great.
Yeah, it's still got the easel.
Yeah.
It's got a pretty good fold here, but there's the box intact.
Yeah, that's really good.
So
yeah, there's not much for it to come out, so it doesn't survive the test of time.
It's the O'Keefe Sport. And
Todd, what would you appraise that at?
I got a great deal on this. I found it at a random place for $20.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
So I had to have it.
Yeah.
To me, well, it's always harder to appraise your own stuff because you kind of have a bit of an attachment to it. But taking that out of it, it's probably about a $50 to $100 piece, in my opinion.
You're right on. Sorry, our price guides. If you want to know,
all right. Well, let's talk about appraising, Bobby.
Yeah, sure.
Because I guess stuff is worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. How do you figure out the sweet spot so it's not too much and not too little and everybody goes away unhappy?
Unhappy. Oh, nicely said.
And that means it was a great deal because you're mad that you didn't get as much as you want, and he's mad because he paid too much. So it's always the center point where you meet. You're comparing items to other things that sold. It's a good reference point. And then sometimes there's a maximum dollar value for a certain piece that just can never pass the threshold. Because a lot of people find things like, oh, this is a $5,000 piece. Okay, it's $200 maybe, but how do you convince somebody? So somebody puts it online for $5,000. Another guy finds when he looks online, he goes, oh, I'll put mine at $4,500. I'll sell mine. Then the other guy comes and goes, oh, and then you go, guys, it's only worth $200. But they don't know. Ignorance is bliss, I guess.
Well, and from the appraisal standpoint, and especially if online is your best resource to try to find out values of things. eBay is as great as a tool as it can be, especially if you're a seller. I think it's one of the worst tools you can use as an appraiser because it really comes down to the sold values, not the posted values. And the posted values, it's like I've seen 5-cent cards up for sale for $19.99 and somebody hits a buy now and I'm like, you're an idiot. At the same time, it's, if you're the seller, great, fantastic. But it's to me, it's not the true test of the market. It really comes down to what has the average. You're always going to have your highs and your lows, and you have to be able to mentally sort out the disconnection of the extremes in both sides, high and low.
It's hard when things don't come up very often, and what kind of price,
Yeah.
because I find a lot of things, you know, it's rather easy for me when I go to a show, because I can go, okay, that, okay, I'll take that. I know exactly what is rare, what is, you know, and people they don't know what it is. So and am I to tell them what they have? Are they, well, do you have my app? Do you have my books? No? Oh, okay, thank you. Oh, here's your $5, thank you. There is a price to everything. And you know, and it is hard. It's like, how do you price certain items? It is difficult, but you can always come up with the range. And it's always compared. I always do that. It's what I paid for something that will determine my value. You know, I've seen one go for 500. I've seen one go for 400. I picked it up for 100. How's 200? You know, I don't have to go for the 500, but everybody wants to go for the 500 or 600 because they want the maximum. I'm about commerce and moving things. I want things to go if I'm going to sell them, and let's follow through with business. You want to stick everything on a pedestal, you're just going to be stuck with a lot of stuff. The same stuff every show, time after time after time, as you've probably seen. Oh, you still got that. Okay. You know, how long has that been? 18 years. Okay. Yeah. It's just, and that's just the funny part of the hobby. That's all.
I'll agree. I see some of the same vendors, whether it's at the Toronto Expo or other shows, and it's all the same. It's all the same stuff. It's all the, when I see the chaotic displays, I'm already scared to even look. You know, the more organized it is, and you know, if they do have boxes for sorting, whether they're the 1,600 count or 3,000 count boxes, you know, if they're sorted, at least numerically, people can find the card numbers they're looking for, stuff like that. That's the stuff that I'll respect. Where if I'm just taking a look and you just see the piles and piles, and some of them are still in the rubber band wrapped stacks and everything else, and it's just like, yeah, run away.
I don't want to deal with that end of things. So
exactly,
you know, yeah, there's a lot of things out there. So you have here a Canada-Russia puck. This was up period. This is up period, and actually it was through Gulf stations. You could go buy, get a minimum purchase of $2, and get a puck. They had the silver ones. You could also order gold ones, and then you had Max Milk. Max Milk back in the early 70s had a sports center, so you could get Pelkowski photographs, you could get pennants, you could get hockey sticks, you could get everything. And this Max Milk puck, there's very few of them out there, and people go, well, what's Max Milk have to do with hockey? Well, let me tell you, you know, there you go. So you just never know what is out there, what you see, and you know, and what kind of value do you put on the Max Milk puck? I don't know. It's neat, and they did have a source center, so about $100, and this one is about the same, about $150. Depends on condition.
Well, Max was a big like convenience store chain, and well, especially.
Thanks for explaining that, because otherwise, I'm thinking everybody knows, because we all know. We all know
actually,
the Scottish guy.
There's a lot of Winnipeg Jets Max products out there.
Yeah.
From the WHA era, because they were the big convenience store before 7-Eleven really took their hold in the
Western
city.
Canada. 7-Eleven, yes,
yeah.
Dominated over Canada. I think I remember seeing two in Toronto back in the 70s and 80s. It was new to me, and they didn't take off. But we had every Becker's and Max Milk. Those were the two largest. And then you go East Coast, then you have the Couche-Tard and all the other different ones. So we were all segregated, but all the same, carried basically the same stuff for the most part.
Yeah. Well, I think even with Max, you could buy your Winnipeg Jets tickets. You could go to a Max store and pick up your NHL or WHA tickets. Or
and Western Canada is CFL land, like Toronto, Montreal, not so hardly as big. So it's all regional and based on different teams and what have you. You know, Winnipeg, they didn't have a team until they came in. Like it was like 79, 80. So it didn't have that history of, you know, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the original six and what have you. So everything changes as it goes across the provinces and into the states as well, too.
Absolutely.